back, it's Jenny, and in this video I'm going to record another piece that was requested of me by the KNB TV, and this is from the Advanced Rubank book, Volume 1. It's on page 56 and it's number 24. I figured they use a lot of pieces out of this book for all-state and all-county and honors band auditions, so I figured it could be helpful for you guys too. I'm going to play it at two different speeds, basically one right after another, a faster tempo and then a slower tempo. And then after that, I'll give some tips on how to practice it. Okay. All right, and now here's the slower tempo that was requested from me, okay? There we go. It is a quick 3 lines. Probably, I haven't timed it, but I bet either way it's under 30 seconds, which can be a little terrifying, but you guys can do it. So let's talk about some things. The very first thing we need to check always is key signature. We have 2 flats and we're actually in G minor. So with G minor, we have the B flat and the E flat, and then we have a lot of F sharps. So those are written in as accidentals, and actually in this piece, just to make it even more confusing, sometimes they have F naturals. So make sure you really go through and pay attention to whether or not you're playing F sharps, F naturals, E flats, B flats, and anything in between, okay? So the first thing I want to talk about is the second line, the first measure. We have 4 groups of 16th notes in that measure, and we have, I don't know if this is flipped on the camera for you, but they each have a diminuendo under each of the 4. I look at that as basically a written out sforzando, so we want to start a little louder at the beginning of each group of 16th and then come away. So it would sound something like this. Okay, so when we're going fast, if you have to play this at an even faster tempo, it's almost impossible to do tiny little diminuendos each time. So my focus would be thinking about playing the first 16th of each beat louder and pulling away for the rest of the beat. If you're really thinking, oh, I'm going to try to get from forte to mezzo piano in each time, that's way too much. The notes are going to fly by you faster than you can actually do that. So what you need to think about is being louder on the first 16th note and coming away, and then it will sound like what the composer, who we don't have a composer name, but how they wanted it played, okay? The second thing is all of the articulations in this piece, right? The biggest thing that we have to do is we have a lot of slurs followed by a staccato. So what we need to do whenever we have, sorry, I thought my cat was over there. Whenever we have slurs followed by a staccato, the last note of the slur, we need to stop with our tongue. We need to do a tongue cutoff. So there's 2 ways to stop air on the clarinet. One is you just stop blowing, right? And the note stops. The other is to put your tongue right back. Now we can hear my cat. He's scratching one of his toys. over in the corner. So I apologize for that. But so first way of stopping sound, just stopping blowing. Second way of stopping sound is putting your tongue back on the beat. It gives us a crisper end. So it goes like this. And why we need that is because we need space on either side of the staccato. So if we don't do a tongue cutoff, then we bleed into where we actually need the staccato note. That would be if we didn't do the tongue cutoff. If we do the tongue cutoff, it sounds like this. Waffles! Okay, he stopped. Oh my goodness. He likes scratching this like metal, or not metal, plastic tub. Okay, so we want tongue cutoffs on all of the notes, the last note of a slurred group. Now the other confusing thing about this piece is we're going along and we have a nice little pattern. Like if we look at the second measure, the last measure of the first line, we go and we have slur 3, tongue 1, slur 3, tongue 1. We're doing great with slur 3, tongue 1, and then it changes on us and goes to tongue 1, slur 3. So you have to pay special attention to that and maybe make notes in your music about when the pattern changes. I find the worst measure for this is if you look one line down, the last measure of the second line. There's so many different articulations. And my only advice there is to practice it slowly many times so that you are cognizant of what's happening. The hardest part for me in particular is going between the second beat of that measure and the third beat. So what I have to think is I have 3 staccato notes in a row there. So again, we're looking at the last measure of the second line. We go slur 2, tongue 2, slur 2, tongue 2. Great. And then we're gonna want to do slur 2, tongue 2 again, but it's not that. It's tongue 1, slur 3. So I have to remind myself when I'm playing is in that second beat going into the third beat, I have 3 staccato notes in a row. Oh. And then we're back to the slur 2, tongue 2. So that's the hardest measure for me to wrap my brain around. So be very picky with that. Practice it a lot of times slowly so that your tongue realizes what it's doing. Okay? Now I want you to look at measure 1, 2, 3, 4. That's one measure back from where I was just talking about. We have a weird arpeggiated section. We go B flat, G, F sharp, G, B flat, G, and then F sharp on the next measure. This is a tricky little section. One thing you have to remember is that we need to play B flat with our side fingering. There's multiple ways to play B flat. The 2 main ways are thumb 1, 2, register key, and the lowest side key. The other way is thumb and register key, 1, 2, and your sliver key. This one, we want the side key because that's the only way we can get to G cleanly. All right, this is just a section to really woodshed, to really play multiple times through because it's a little tricky. Okay, we have to really work on making sure that our fingers are lining up when we want them for each note and that we're not getting the A in between. So you're moving from G to B flat. You have to hit that bottom key and pick up your ring finger at the same time. Okay, so that's just the part to particularly also spend some more time on. All right. So I'm going to look at the third line, the last line of music. The first measure is a G minor arpeggio. Okay, and it is not a broken arpeggio, but we start on B flat instead of G. We go down, we go all the way up. So you can practice that measure over and over and over again, but another way to practice it so that it's not as boring and we keep our brain engaged is practicing the G minor arpeggio starting on any note. So the G minor arpeggio is G, B flat, D, and then G again. So we could start on low G. That's up to high G. You don't have to go that high, but I would suggest going to the D because we do go to the D in the piece. Then you can start on the B flat. I had to remember if I was going to go higher or not. Okay, so just practicing that arpeggio, starting on different notes. At least they were nice here, and it slurred to tongue to the entire time. The other thing about that arpeggio is getting up to that D with enough air. Don't pull away too much or you'll get something like this. I'm starting the first measure of the third line. We want the D to come out. Don't be scared of it. I would rather it squeak than you pull away so much that we don't hear the other notes. I squeaked, right? That's because my voicing wasn't correct. So let's try it again. I find if we practice singing it, you don't have to have a great singing voice. Singing or humming the notes, that helps us get our tongue in a better position. So, yada ba ba dee da ba ba. From the beginning. The other thing about this piece is what volume you want to do it. I think it is basically mezzo forte plus the entire time with a crescendo in the last measure going down to that low G. We have a little bit of shaping right where we have the decrescendos in the second line. And then other than that, you want to shape basically as the line goes. If we are coming up in notes, you might want to get a little bit louder. If we're coming back down, you might want to decrescendo, but that's very minute. This piece is to show off your technical prowess. You don't want to blast it the whole time. I don't want... We don't want that. You want to play with your best sound, and you want to be going somewhere. So take for instance, the first two measures, I think they are leading until we get to the D in the third measure, right? D is my goalpost, right? And we're coming down, right? With our diminuendos. Ah! I just reminded myself, there's only one place to breathe in this entire piece, which is the middle of the second line. We have one solitary eighth note. You want to breathe after that eighth note. Now, if you're playing it at a slower tempo and you need more breaths, my suggestion is you drop a 16th note. And it can be anywhere, but it shouldn't be at the top of a phrase. It probably shouldn't be the highest note. If you're going to drop a 16th note to take a breath, it should be lower in the music, one of the lower notes, and you just drop it and keep going, and there's no problem. But if you are playing it at a quicker tempo, we should breathe at the beginning, and then we breathe after that eighth note. Those are our two times, and it should be enough air as long as we're playing it quick enough. If you're playing it on the slower side, drop a 16th note. But you probably shouldn't breathe more than that. And there is one more other place to breathe that I'm just noticing. We have one more eighth note, which is the second to last measure, right? It's an E flat eighth note. You can breathe after that, okay? Those are our written in chances to breathe. And like I said, if we're going fast enough, it should be fine. If you need more air, drop the 16th note, okay? Other than that, make sure you play with the full sound and show them how much slow practice you've done. To play fast, you must practice slow. All right, so if your tempo for this was quarter note equals 96, I need you to start at 50. And when you can play it at 50, and then you maybe hit your metronome 2 times and go up to 56, and then go up to 60, and so on and so forth, okay? So I hope this has been helpful for you. Let me know if you guys have any music that you'd like me to record and give you some tips on for how to play, and I'll see you all soon. Bye.